What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, joined by AC. We are here back for the Gridiron Gamble, our NFL betting show here on the Bottom Line View. Of course, picks against the spread. Last week, we did picks against the spread in a little bit of a different way. We kind of went through every single game and talked about every game, how much money we would put on every game, which ones to stay away from, which ones to bet on. And last week, I know I didn't do so hot. I don't know about AC specifically.
Yeah, I was 2-2. So
yeah,
but I thought that Houston was a lock, somewhat of a lock, and that didn't win. I lost Pittsburgh, but I won the LA Rams, which after it, looking at it, before it looked good, and then actually watching the game, it looked even better. And then I got a backdoor cover with the Chargers against the Broncos because the spread was 3.5, and they get those two in the fourth.
That was an exciting game,
and they could have won that game. I had money on the money line, but also it was fine with they covered the spread, which is fine.
Yeah, I'm already 1-0 this week, so I'm already doing pretty decently. Hopefully, we can continue this. Of course, I Texans plus 5.5. You took them plus 3.5, right? A different bet.
Yeah, so you can do an alternate spread. So the line was plus 5.5. I thought I wanted to save myself, so just in case if they lost by a field goal, I would still win. And it turned out they won, so it was fine. But when you do an alternate spread, if you give pretty much 2 points back to the house, you get a little better odds. So I got like 2.1, 2.2 on my bet instead of normally it's like 1.95, right? I'm assuming something like that. So I just normally do that if I thought that spread was pretty bizarre, to be honest.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Even though a lot of people were picking the Bengals in that game due to the fact that there was a rookie quarterback coming in and all that sort of stuff. But I just looked at the performances from week one and I was like, this Texans team isn't that bad. They had a bad performance against Jacksonville. Cincinnati looks like they're in shambles on both sides, mostly offense. So I went with the team with the better defense and the better running game, and it worked out.
And I thought just Sean gave a little more confidence, and I think that was a big reason. I would have been more skeptical if Savage kept on playing. And now if you look about week two, when I bet week two, I think week two is almost harder than week one because you have teams you have teams that played so well the week before that maybe weren't supposed to do well, and you don't know if that's going to be what they're going to be like the rest of the season, or was that just a 1 week thing? So now, when you get to week 3, 4, 5, 6, you start to the spreads are a little more even because now I think there's a lot of inflated spreads going into week 2 because only on week 1 performances.
Yeah, that's very true. Like some people, week 1's tough. Usually for me, week 1's the toughest week. Week 2 is tough as well because, like you said, you have to adjust to how the teams perform. Like, is Jacksonville legit? Like, that's one question to ask. Is Jacksonville legit or are they not? So we gotta figure that out. I really have been saying this, and this goes for betting or not betting, just NFL teams in general. I don't figure out how good a team is, or like the NFL or the team themselves doesn't figure out who they are until at least a month into the season. And then they kind of know who they are. They know what they're good at on offense. They know what they're good at defense. And they know their deficiencies, and they know how to play around that. So, yeah, it really, the NFL changes from week 4 on. But week number 2, we're going to get into our picks. AC, we're going to do it a little bit differently this week. We're going to go 4 of our top bets this week, and then we're going to give you a 5th additional bet. So let's start off with one of your top bets for this week.
Okay, my top bet is Buffalo going into Carolina. I do like how Carolina played, but I think the spread is +7 for Buffalo, which I think if you look at how Buffalo played with their run game, and I don't mind that defense, I think 7 points is a lot. I think we were talking about earlier, I think it's going to be low scoring. I don't see Buffalo necessarily winning this game, but I do see them keeping it close. For a week 2 game in Carolina, I just think 7 points is a lot, and I'll take that all day. And if Buffalo wins, they win. But I think if they do lose, it's only by 3 or 4 points.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this game myself, and I look at this game. Of course, you have the whole coaching matchup of McDermott. He's now the head coach of the Bills, and he was the defensive coordinator for the Panthers. So maybe he could he knows something about that offense potentially, or that defense at the same time, of how to beat that defense, because it's still the same sort of defense. Then offensively, he might know some keys on Cam, or that there are certain players to really attack. Plus, you look at the teams and they're kind of even, and I wasn't impressed with Cam Newton's performance against the 49ers, so that's something to be said. The only thing I'd be afraid about in that matchup is I was really impressed with the Panthers. I watched that entire game, the Panthers-49ers. I was really impressed with the Panthers' front seven and their ability to stop the run and get pressure. So that's the only thing I would be concerned about. But at the same time, I think the Bills are more talented than the 49ers for sure. So I think, and the 49ers even had a chance to make that game close. So, I think that's a pretty good bet. For myself, I'm going to go with my top bet being Baltimore -7.5 against Cleveland. This is in Baltimore. I think AC maybe feels a little bit differently from myself, but I just look at this game and I was impressed with Baltimore last week, offensively, defensively. Now, their offense wasn't sexy, but as we saw with the Bengals defense the past 2 weeks, they've been playing pretty well. They did a good job against the Texans. They did a good job against the Ravens. But what the Ravens were good at last week, they were able to run the football. I think they'll be able to do that again against Cleveland this week. And I think, Jeremy Maclin, those receivers, Mike Wallace, will have some good advantages on the outside against the Cleveland corners. I'm not saying they're going to have Antonio Brown games, but as long as they make a couple of plays this week, definitely worse corners than Cincinnati had. And defensively, I just don't see a way Cleveland can really score on this team. Baltimore's defense is, for me, top 5, maybe top 3 in this league. Their defensive line and their front seven is vicious, especially against the run. I don't see anywhere for Isaiah Crowell to go, especially because they thought Pittsburgh's defense was good in week 1. Wait till they see Baltimore's defense. Isaiah Crowell couldn't run last week. I don't think he'll run this week. And then you're forcing the ball into Kaiser's hands. And I don't see how Corey Coleman's going to have as good a week as he did last week. I just don't think Cleveland's going to score enough points to make this game close enough. I think Baltimore, another week of Joe Flacco back in practice, back in pads, back with the team. I look at this Baltimore team, and I think people are still underrating them a little bit, and I think the Ravens are going to win this one pretty handily.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to stay away from it because I watched that game. I guess I thought of it a bit differently because I did think that Kaiser managed the game pretty well enough for a team that was worse last year, new quarterback, pretty much a new offensive line. And obviously they were kind of trailing most of the game that they had to throw. But there was, a couple drives that he did command the offense well and was able to score. And I do think that the Ravens still have secondary problems. And I do like the Ravens. Obviously, I think they're going to win. And yes, it's probably still a good bet. I'm not comfortable out of looking at all the games doing that. And the one thing with the Ravens, though, what did they only scored 20 points. So it's like that.
They only scored 20 points, but they let up 0.
No, 100%. But if you think about it, then Cleveland really only, to cover the spread, they just got to keep it a 1-score game, even a touchdown game to cover. But obviously, Baltimore is the better hand. This is just me thinking this game, it's week 2. I'm just not confident with the Ravens because it's only been 1 week, and I'm somewhat confident of the Browns, but not confident enough to even touch this game.
This is where I think the Browns, we're overrating the Browns because they usually typically play the Steelers well in Cleveland. Even it doesn't matter who the talent is, doesn't matter who the quarterback is. We've seen in the past the Steelers, and specifically Ben, struggles in Cleveland, and they still win those games, but they're usually really, really close. And when a rookie quarterback, his first time ever, is going to go to Baltimore's a really tough crowd, a really tough stadium. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I like the Ravens here, so you could take our advice either way, but I'm gonna ride with the Ravens. What's your next pick this week?
I got Arizona -7, so minus a touchdown over Indy. I don't care who you put at quarterback. I think Brissett's going to be better than Tolzien, but to me, I'm betting more on Arizona because what I do think of when I do look at week 2, some of my picks are more based on week 1 performances and what they need to do this week. Like Arizona, that was a horrible loss for Arizona to be up in that. Carson Palmer and their offense didn't look great. Even without David Johnson, I just think look what the Rams defense did against Indianapolis. And I do think this Cardinals defense is going to have a bounce back game. And I think Palmer is going to manage the game decent enough to score some points. And I think they win by easily 2 scores here. And the spread 7, Jacoby Brissett, we'll see what happens, but I just don't think they don't have a run game. Their offensive line's crap, and Luck's not at quarterback. I just think looking at this, I'm surprised. Arizona, by not playing well last week, has made this spread way lower than it really should be.
I agree with you. This is one of my bets as well. This is my 4th one. I look at this game the same way you do. I just look at everything the Colts can do, which is not much. I mean, they still have T.Y. Hilton, but as long as Patrick Peterson's lined up against them, I think that's kind of negated. And then you have Jack Doyle, who the Arizona defense has been the best at stopping tight ends for the past 2 years. They can't run the ball, like you said. The Cardinals did a good job against the Lions run game. If they can stop that run game, they can stop the Colts. Jacoby Brissett, as much as I am a fan, he is a former Patriot. He has talent, and he's probably better than Scott Tolzien. It's only been 1.5 weeks for him. He hasn't learned enough of the offense. It's going to be too vanilla. And then he's facing Bruce Arians' defense that's very kind of dynamic and, sends a lot of different looks at a quarterback and all that sort of stuff. He isn't Matt Stafford. The only reason the Lions won is Matt Stafford. Legit, yep. The only reason. The Colts defense, it's more about the Colts defense being bad than me believing in the Cardinals offense, because without David Johnson, I think they take a major hit and a major loss there. But, Larry Fitzgerald, J.J. Nelson, those sort of guys should have good games in this one. Carson Palmer should have a decent game. As long as he doesn't lose it for them and throw multiple interceptions, they should be able to win this one pretty handily. So I agree with you on that. My next game is going to be the New England Patriots -6 against the New Orleans Saints. I have promised myself to take the Patriots against the spread every single week this season. Now, it didn't work out week 1, but it's rare that it actually doesn't work out for the Patriots. Last year, of course, they were excellent against the spread. They've been the best team against the spread for a number of years now. They were 13-3 against the spread last year. This year, I think, and in this game, I think this is a line based off how bad the Patriots defense played. But if you remember that game, the Patriots were actually beating the Chiefs 1 point in that game. They gave up 21 unanswered points in the 4th quarter. They had their worst defensive performance ever under Belichick. They let up 2 70-plus yard free touchdowns where the guy was wide open. I just don't see that happening again. Yes, it's on the road in New Orleans, but I watched the Saints team play this past week on this past Monday. Their offensive line couldn't block. Drew Brees looks old. He looks old. Michael Thomas is their only receiver. I just look at there's too many running backs. I don't know who's going to play. I will say this. The one way that the Saints should be able to move the ball without Dante Hightower in is if they put Alvin Kamara at running back and try and use him in the passing game. That would be one way for them to do that. And I still think the Saints are going to move the ball. But on the opposite side of things, you're looking at a Sam Bradford performance that he hasn't topped since college. This is the best performance Sam Bradford's probably ever had in his career. Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, these guys were amazing. The Vikings offensive line looks incredible. Are we really buying that much into the Vikings offense? And then you're going to bring in Tom Brady against these rookie corners, these rookie safeties, Josh McDaniels. And this Patriots offense, didn't look all-time great like last week like it has, but it still put up 27 points against one of the top 10 defenses in the league, and it could have had more points, and it looked bad. So at the same time, I think this is a bounce-back performance for the Patriots. I think this is a statement game for them. They need to win this one, and I think they will, and I think they'll win it pretty easily. What do you think about that, AC?
Yeah, no, I'm not betting on it. I'm just gonna probably just watch it. But yeah, the Patriots should win by a lot. The one thing I will say about New Orleans is watch out for Breeze at home. Watch out for Breeze after a bad game, because I know, you're saying that New Orleans couldn't block, but you can't really compare that front seven of of Minnesota to the front seven of New England. It's like night and day, especially after that week one, especially with some injuries, especially against guys leaving. So yes, Breeze was on his ass a lot in the first game, but I just don't think you have that talent. You might be able to scheme and get some pressure. I just don't think they have the same talent as the Minnesota front seven.
Fair
Obviously,
enough.
Minnesota,
I don't think many teams do. I think they're kind of in the top five.
Exactly. And I think it's going to be a high scoring game. They should win by 10 points or something. But I do think New Orleans is going to score some points in this game, and New England's going to score even more points. So like I'd take if we're doing anything, I'd bet the over in this for sure. Like I'm thinking like 42-30 or something like that.
See, I think this is going to be a bounce back performance for the defense. I think they're going to be lit up in that meeting room. And as much as people don't think they have talent, they weren't saying that before the season. So I just think this is going
like I think some people were.
Okay. I don't think any people were.
Well, it's like they were not saying that about their DBs, like their two corners, but I think there was some depth issues in that front seven that people were talking about.
Well, that was the only like problem or issue that people were looking at. But I think that if you actually watch that Chiefs game, I don't think it was as bad as people thought it was in that front seven. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's going to be a bounce back performance. You could look at it a different way, but that's how
it has to be too. Because New Orleans was a team that most people didn't even have making the playoffs, and the Patriots are the Patriots. So if we're looking at these week 2 games, like we talked about, like this is a must-win in a way for New England.
Okay, what's your next?
Would you say that? It's a must-win.
I said it's a big win. I don't know if it's a must-win, but it's like they need it.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'm not saying must win. I'm just saying like they can't go 0-2 against these teams.
Yeah, they can't lose to the Saints.
And then they still have a tough part of their schedule coming up.
If they were playing the Chiefs and then like the Packers,
yeah, true.
Then yeah. But like if it was the Saints, like they should be the Saints.
My third game is the Chargers -3.5 over Miami. I think Miami, it hurts them to not start the season. I think the way the Chargers played in the second half was decent enough. And we all talk about the Chargers. I know you're a big fan. This is a game they need a win if they want to do well moving forward. Against Miami, first game at home, you lose to the Broncos on a game that you probably should have made it to overtime with.
They should have.
I think their offense started to click a bit more. I think we saw what Melvin Gordon is somewhat going to look like this year. Obviously, he could have even played way better, but I just think you saw with that offense, and then I think that defense too was getting a lot of pressure, and I just can't bet on Jake Cutler week 1. They might surprise me, and this could be a game is kind of sketchy to me, but I just think the Chargers really need this win because of a team that we're really high on this year. They can't start 0-2 and then especially lose to Miami at home. I like it. 3.5 is pretty close, but I do think they win by 4 or 5, but I could see myself getting screwed over by that 0.5 and them just winning by a field goal.
Yeah, the tough thing about the Chargers in the past is they've always gotten down to the wire.
Yeah.
Which makes them a good bet when they're an underdog, but when they're a favorite, it's kind of sketchy. How do you feel about the whole thing of Miami hasn't played yet? Yes, they haven't had those reps yet, but how do you feel that the Chargers don't have any film on the Miami Dolphins yet?
True, but you could say that, but with Cutler, it's just about getting pressure, and if they could stop Ajayi, because I do like their front seven, I do like that defense, and I just think with Cutler, I don't know how much he can do this season. He might surprise me, and I could get screwed over, but I just think the Chargers, the way they lost, and I think how good the Chargers we believe can be this season, this is a game they need to win. And if I get screwed over, I think they win. If I get screwed over because of the spread and they only win by 2 or 3, whatever. But I'm confident that the Chargers are gonna win this one.
Yeah, I picked them. I think they're going to win the game. I'm just not 100% betting on them. I may change my mind, but I'm not sure what the news is with Jason Verrett. I don't think he's really been practicing, so I don't know if he's going to be playing. But I think the Chargers offense is still underrated. You saw what they did in the second half to the Broncos, and that's one of the top defenses in the NFL at home, where they're typically very dangerous and dominant. I think this is a huge game for Phillip Rivers, so I'd agree with you there. I'm just the unknown of Jay Cutler is so great that I could see why people stay away from it, but at the same time, if you believe in the Chargers, you should bet this game.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one for me is and I believe you have this one as well. It's the Oakland Raiders. What is it, 13.5 or 13 right now?
13.5.
Okay, minus 13.5 versus the Jets. I have Oakland because I just don't see how this game is going to be close. Like every single thing that the Jets have, the Raiders have, right? So the Raiders, what's the Jets' strength on defense? Is there pass rush? What do the Raiders have? A great offensive line. Okay, then if that negates that, we have Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree on the outside versus, can you even name the corners for the Jets? Derek Carr looked fantastic. Marshawn Lynch looked really good, which gives me a lot of confidence in this game. And LaShawn McCoy ripped this defense up on the ground for the most part. I think Marshawn Lynch is going to be able to run. He should be a really good fantasy play this week. Defensively, the Raiders' defensive line against the run was really impressive. I think that's definitely going to carry over this week. I still have questions about their secondary, but against Josh McCown and these receivers, like Jermaine Kearse is your number one target. I don't see how they're going to be exposed in any way. And Khalil Mack should definitely have a bounce back performance after getting 0 sacks, which, by the way, I predicted he wouldn't get a sack last week. But anyways, I just don't.
Oh no, you don't do Ultimate Team. No, there's a new predictor thing in Madden Ultimate Team where you get true or false things, and then there was one.
Oh no, I just said that on the picks last week. That's why I said that. But yeah, I just don't see how the Raiders are not going to blow this team out.
No, I agree. I agree with you. There's the way the Raiders came out and played against Tennessee, who has a very decent defense, a very decent offense. Just the way they played in that game. These are one of the games where I'll take what I saw in week 1 and almost put that to the rest of the season to a certain point, because I think there were questions with Oakland, but I think that game put those questions to rest. And now with a couple easy games coming up, I think they run through those teams easily, playing really well. Obviously, like you said, they got the receivers. They have a nice front seven. The secondary is an issue, but you don't have to worry about it when you're going against Kearse. I think 13.5 is easy, and that's my bet as well. I don't want to say lock because I jinxed myself last time, but out of all the games, I probably feel more comfortable with the biggest spread of the weekend.
Yeah, and I think another thing about the Raiders is, and that really impressed me, is I thought the Titans would win week 1. I know you didn't, but I was high on the Titans, and what I saw from the Raiders last week was a team that was good last year, that was kind of a Cinderella team, and they have seemed to matured, and they become a more mature team. I think Derek Carr and the coaching staff and those players that have experienced last year have now taken that last year experience, brought it to this year, and they are now a team that I can count on to win games that they should win, and they should win them the way they should win them. You know what I mean? Yep. That's what I didn't see from them last year, where they were winning every game close, and I was skeptical about that coming into this year. But now, even after only 1 week, going into Tennessee against a team that I expect to be in the playoffs, I feel like that was an impressive win, and the way they won that game, they controlled that game, they mostly dominated that game. I have a lot of confidence in the Raiders right now, so that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, same here.
The next game for you is what?
Well, I guess those are the 4. We went through 4.
Okay.
So like the main 4, I have Buffalo +7 over Carolina, Arizona -7 over Indianapolis, Chargers -3.5 over Miami, and Oakland -13.5 over the Jets. And then looking at other ones, I might go. It depends what we got to see with Odell, but I do think Detroit.
That was my 5th one.
Yeah,
Detroit +3
looks good.
Even if I don't know.
Even with Odell, I'm saying I would agree with you too. I wouldn't even care. I just think, but then again, I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Tough.
I've been the biggest OBJ guy, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, does OBJ make Eli actually competent?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
you're
because
playing Matt Stafford.
Well, what we said even before with the Giants was this whole team relies on Eli Manning, and the way Eli Manning looked is he should have been able to do something. It's not like that Cowboys defense is unbelievable. He should have been able to do something more than he did even without Odell last week. And if that's the Eli we see, even with Odell, I don't think it matters. Like I just think that they're gonna set up for failure if Eli plays like that the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think it's a smart bet to go Lions +3 because they're always in the game. They're always in the game. They always have a chance to win it at the end because of Stafford. But at the same time, like when you look at the Giants, this might be a must-win game.
Yeah.
They're in a very tough division. They have a lot of, tough competition in there, and they lost the Cowboys week 1. This is at home. It's the home opener. It's a tough one for sure. But like you, I think I just saw a good team in the Lions last week, and I saw a bad team in the Giants, and for some reason the bad team is favored. I feel like you should take the good team plus the points.
Yeah, for sure. And also similar to that, the Rams looked really good, but this is a must-win for Washington. They have to rebound. They can't start 0-2 and lose to the Rams.
I picked them to win, so.
Yeah, no, I might do that, something like that. And then for me, just being an Eagles fan, I think 6 points is a lot against KC. Just look at how our defense played. We have linebackers to cover back receivers out of the backfield. Yes, there could be some big play, but I do think our pass rush is gonna fluster Alex Smith a bit. But I wouldn't. This is just me being a fan and betting them, but I wouldn't tell people to bet them at all. I'm just saying that I do. 6 points is quite a bit, and I think it's going to be a lot closer. Plus, the Eagles always play the Chiefs quite well the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I like the Chiefs in that game. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to be sorry. It's just it's
in Arrowhead,
and that's what the odds would say that that the Chiefs would win, and I'm not. And the way the Chiefs played, yeah, the Chiefs looked very well. But I do think the Eagles' defense is going to show itself. I think it's going to be the offense. If they do lose, it's because the offense can't do anything. But I do think the Eagles' offense is going to be top 3, top 4 in the whole NFL this year because they look that good.
How do you feel about the loss of Ronald Darby?
It's not as bad as it was. It's only 4 to 6 weeks now.
But like in this game, because you have to cover Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, but we've done that, well, we had to cover Pryor and Crowder last week, you know what I mean? Who, in your opinion, are quite good as well, right? So we did well with them.
Yeah, I guess. All right, we'll see. I'm not going to bet on that game either way, but
yeah, and I'll just probably bet money line to get better odds, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, guys, so that's been our NFL picks against the spread for week 2. The Gridiron Gamble, we'll go over our picks one more time, and we'll leave you to it. So I have the Baltimore Ravens -7.5 at home against the Cleveland Browns. I have New England on the road -6 against the Saints. The Raiders -13.5 at home against the Jets. The Cardinals on the road -7 in Indianapolis, and my outside bet is Detroit +3 in New York.
Yeah, I have Buffalo +7 in Carolina, Arizona -7 in Indy, Chargers at home against Miami -3.5, and then Oakland as well -13.5. And then my fifth one, as we talked about, I do like Detroit as well against the Giants +3.
All right. So there you heard it from AC, Mitch. We are the Bottom Line View. Thanks, guys, for watching. And stay tuned with the Bottom Line View because tomorrow we're going to have the NFL AM show right before the games start. It's going to be myself, probably Dylan and Kev. I don't think AC will be there. He has tough Sundays. So, at least us 3. We'll see what happens. But we're going to be talking about the games, fantasy lineup changes, and, all that sort of stuff. So stay tuned. Subscribe if you have not. Like the video. Peace out.